What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Thanks for checking in our latest Trade to Black podcast presented by Dutchie. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Lots to get into today. Trent Wolveck, Chief Strategy Officer for Dutchie Holdings, is going to come on in just a moment. He was in Washington recently, and we're going to talk about a number of things, including this hearing that took place yesterday in Congress. Invasion of the Homeland, where the Chinese drug cartel are building a cannabis empire. That got a lot of attention, including Congressman Troy Carter, who we're trying to get on next week to talk further. But some real eye-opening stats. Some of the illegal grows within the state of Oklahoma. Massive numbers coming out of that state alone. So Anthony, Trent, and I will get into that and get our takeaways on what that Congress hearing could mean. And really could force the hand of President Trump of making a decision sooner rather than later. Plus, Dan from the Chart Guys is going to join us to talk about price action this week. And as usual, what to anticipate going into the close and preparing into next week. So let's welcome in AV here on a Friday morning. Trade to Black, presented by Dutchie. How are you, sir?
Good. I was just thinking we might have wore the suits again today, just to head fake everybody. That would have been funny, thinking about it. But no, it's good.
We have different styles, don't we?
Yeah.
You look sharp on Wednesday. Love that comb over too. That was just.
It would have. The hearing was good yesterday. We got to see, and we'll get more into it, Trent. But we got to see what happens when a cannabis organization such as the USCR preps a politician and has him ready to go in a hearing with statements to say, a letter to submit to the record, and pertinent information to add to his already well-educated position on cannabis.
Yeah.
The fact that he grilled Mr. Larkin on his views, which do you think cannabinoids or cannabis, marijuana, it all should be illegal in this day and age? He said yes. He's an outright prohibitionist. The Heritage Foundation has ties to SAM. Those two organizations are in bed with each other. It wasn't a surprise to see what Mr. Larkin had to say, and it's fine. I mean, everybody's going to have their own opinion. He doesn't agree with the way the world wants to move, and I don't think history is going to be kind to his values and his opinion. But he's entitled to that. Those people are always going to be there.
Yeah, appreciate everybody's feedback as well from the interview that we had with Senator Rand Paul. I actually got a chance to listen to it afterwards. You're caught up in the moment and asking these specific questions, but my takeaway is that hemp obviously is in his pocket. I don't know what that means. Laugh my ass, Shad, you dick. I don't know what that means. But anyway, it's nice to see you, John Lee. But long story short, my takeaway from that conversation is just like hemp is in his pocket. He's got some big lobbying dollars, because some of the stuff that was basically explained, I question whether or not he even understood what was going on, and some of the stuff that you brought up with Senator Rand Paul. Sorry, apologies.
Yeah. I mean, with all respect to the senator, I think I asked poignant questions, kind of being respectful and trying to pry the real problem at large out of him. I'm not sure if he does understand the full opportunity that is taking place with THCA flower and how those mechanics are working nationwide. I think it dovetails into the hearing yesterday with the Chinese gangs and illicit product going into the market. But it was an eye-opening conversation. And I mean, I think it also needs to be said, Senator Paul has a pact with Brett Worley, MC Nutraceuticals, several prominent synthetic hemp manufacturers and distributors in the United States that do politically donate to him. I think that the main points of his argument, putting the farmers first and putting his constituents first, it could be respected, but at the same time, like, this is not about farmers. This is about shoring up and regulating an industry that is operating as the Wild West right now and needs regulation. It can't be a heartstring argument of keeping the farmers in business, because industrial hemp and what the Farm Bill intended, those farmers can make a living extracting that flower down into CBD extract and selling off the rest of the whole plant as industrial products. At the end of the day, they would be completely fine without intoxicating products.
Yep. Agreed. A lot that we learned, but also at the same time, a lot that was an eye opener. And I don't want to even say for good reason, but we know where we stand. And it appears that, one thing we did see is that there needs to be more of a presence by this industry in Washington, is some of the stuff that he shared with us as well. But one thing is for sure, that hemp industry is definitely in his pockets right now from what I see. And again, it's just we'll find out in the next couple of weeks, because that's what he said in the interview was he's worried about hemp being banned. Like there's still a possibility. Had some conversations with Senator McConnell, but he was basically explaining and describing it as not being emotional right now and not making another mistake. But I don't know. I was hoping for something a little bit more, but through that interview and conversation, it just made me realize, like, even the people that are behind certain initiatives that you think is right, they still are misinformed or uneducated on the true realm of the problem, I feel.
This is a very complex problem. This is the thing is this is a very complex problem with a very easy solution, which is the frustrating thing here. But understanding the nuances of both markets, understanding the dynamics of what's going on. I mean, I know Dank's in the comments right now. You could go on his Twitter and spend a week probably reading just the stuff that he's been posting about illicit product, about fraudulent COAs, about just the real filth that's in the hemp industry. And granted, I'll give a caveat to that there are good actors within the hemp industry, but I mean, he's really shown a light on synthetics, illicit activity, illicit products getting into those channels, fraudulent product being sold into those channels. I mean, it would need to take an individual some real time and some real bandwidth to truly understand that complex problem. But like I said, the frustrating thing is there is a very easy solution to it.
Yep. Dank, I love the work that you're doing. You've done great stuff. Here's my suggestion. Take it for as you will. I don't take this personally or the wrong way. Show the face, my friend. We'd love to have you on the platform. Let's get to know you. I don't know if that's a chance you want to take, but I think that would just boost your credibility that much more. But that's just me. All right, let's welcome in our first guest here today, Chief Strategy Officer of Dutchie Holdings, Trent Wolveck. Back to the podcast. You like that smile? What do you think, sir?
Oh man, well, number one, it's good to get out of a suit. I was in one all week, and I was happy to get out of the monkey suit and back into.
Were you in DC?
So I'm glad you didn't make us dress up today.
Were you in DC at the hearing yesterday?
I was at the hearing yesterday.
Nice.
I was in I was in the field at our facility on Monday, and on the Hill Tuesday, Wednesday, and yesterday as well. So, super interesting timing. I had quite a few things line up to just all hit this week, which are exciting developments on multiple different fronts, and so. Some people like to post it online. Other people like to keep it quiet. I think, I'm kind of right there in between. So feel free to ask away questions.
Yeah, I hear you. As we were saying about our interview with Senator Rand Paul, there also was some big stuff going down in Washington this week, as I said off the top, invasion of the Homeland, which is all about the Chinese drug cartels that took place yesterday at Congress. Representative Troy Carter, Democrat, he commented and stood out because Democrats, as we know, have done almost nothing on cannabis reform when they had that chance. But do you think this could be the first sign that Democrats realize they could lose this issue to trump the Republicans if rescheduling happens under their watch, based on some of the feedback that was outlined yesterday from them? Did you get a chance to see it, Trent?
What's that? I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you get a chance to see a lot of the stuff that was talked about?
I was there the whole time.
Oh, you were there. Apologies.
Yep. So, I was live and in person. You can kind of always feel the vibe in the room. I think, actually both sides were well prepared. Obviously, there's always you try to have that balance on a committee hearing like that. To me, you had two gentlemen that were in either law enforcement or federal, state level, and then as you alluded to, Anthony, Mr. Larkin from the Heritage Foundation, who is a prohibitionist, but I was able to talk to him after the hearing for a couple minutes. I got his contact. I think he's a smart individual, and so hopefully as we present facts around some of the things that he stated, to show the opposite. Hopefully, we can continue that dialogue, in spirit of, where and how I think this nation needs to turn after last week. So, I think that was interesting. Going back to your question, do I think Democrats feel the pressure from the national level on losing this issue? 100%, absolutely yes.
Okay.
I think there were a couple interesting, data points, breadcrumbs, as I like to call them, that were peppered throughout the hearing. One is obviously, the well laid out, informed, statement and questions that were done on the Democrat side. But I also think MTG was well prepared. I think she, brought up some great points. A couple of the other Republicans, I think, were able to lay out specifically, what the issue was at hand. And then the two, enforcement individuals, obviously they need help and they need resources. I thought the task force that was laid out by the gentleman, former DEA, was something that was super pertinent and should be something that gets taken up. The WeChat thing was super interesting. The money laundering that started in 2018 for the CCP, for the Mexican cartels. I just thought that date was interesting, 2018. We all know what happened then. So I think there was a lot of interesting data points. But I also think they left a few things on the table, specifically around, they talked about hundreds of billions of dollars of, illicit marijuana being sold. They never actually touched on how that was getting to the consumers or sold to the in-person. So correct. I think there's a lot of data information that's out there currently that we can get into as well. And by the way, I think the committee will get into as they continue to drill down this rabbit hole.
One of the things that Mr. Larkin said that really caught my attention was, I don't know if he was confused, conflating, or just purposefully misdirecting, but he had alluded to the fact that illicit Chinese marijuana could easily find its way into lawfully legal cannabis channels. Now, you can define that two different ways. Lawfully legal cannabis channels are hemp, defined by the Farm Bill, or state-run cannabis businesses. It's a very ambiguous statement that he said, which leads us to the fact that this is a complex issue. Like,
yep.
You're not going to find illicit Chinese cannabis on the shelves at Jushi or True Leaf ever.
No.
But
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, but it can find its way into I do think it does find its way via the THCA channels into the hemp market. We've proven that.
Correct. And by the way, the definition of hemp at the federal level in the legislative language is, we all know it, 0.3% Delta 9 correct. THC on a dry weight basis. The requirements for the USDA for the regs is total THC. And so I don't understand still to this day, somebody that understands what the USDA is saying and what the hemp flower, floral hemp, whatever people, want to call it these days, it isn't being enforced upon, because that illicit market, like you said, is being supplied through THCA flower. It's just being renamed as correct. Something different. So like the illicit marijuana is being sold through the hemp channel.
I get hit with the ads all day on Twitter. I can go on Twitter right now from 5 different outlets and buy a pound, ship it to my house next week, and it's going to test hot the second it comes to my door. It comes with a nice little insert saying that this flower is Farm Bill compliant. It's 0.3% THC hemp. They're on their way. I pay with my American Express, and it finds its way to my door. It's going to be hot 10 times out of 10. That stuff's not shipping 0.3% THC. And and I've tracked it. It's all coming from California, or it's coming from the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington. for the most part.
Absolutely. I think, as we continue to learn and see and discover what's going on, we'll see what comes out, who the suppliers are, where the product come from. There was just a bust yesterday in California where they were applying for hemp licenses and they were straight up growing marijuana. Like, that's what people are doing now.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the day before, there was like 48,000 pounds popped in New Jersey. They were growing marijuana. The day before that, there was a vape shop that had tunnels underneath it that had trailers full of marijuana, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, and cocaine. Like, the real enemy here, and this is what we all have to understand, is the CCP and the Mexican cartels. It was said perfectly in the hearing yesterday. The CCP is playing the long game. I mean, that's the one thing I did agree with Mr. Larkin on, quite frankly, was that they will do this for years or for generations or however long it takes in order to influence and wage war, quite frankly, on the youth in America. They've done it through multiple different channels, and intoxicating substances are one of those things.
What'd they say? Was it close to 12,000 illegals, like in the state of Oklahoma alone? Am I understanding that correctly at one point?
They were dropping a lot of facts. I quite frankly need to go back and watch the hearing again.
Yeah.
Because they were dropping, hundreds of thousands of pounds, tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars of product. In talking a little bit more with the Oklahoma folks, and they mentioned metric as something that they use, where they go into a facility and they see 1 out of every 30 plants tagged with a metric tag.
Yeah.
Well, we know what that means when it comes to the regulated industry. We know the games that can be played, with the different tiers of licenses and how that gets pushed out the back door in California through burner distros. But that's the beautiful thing about a regulated market, an overseen market.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to get to that data in metric, I'm sure would be more than happy to provide data to law enforcement. You could see that stuff pop in 2 seconds and you could figure it out. That's why, again, the seed to sale tracking, the regulated market, prohibition doesn't work. We are like, that was proven yesterday, quite frankly.
Yeah.
They need to make this a priority. Like,
I think it's getting there.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to say that they're making this a priority, but I also want to think that one of the main things is going to be the sheer amount of capital that it's going to take to enforce this. Like, you're talking about a coast to coast enforcement of just everything from farmland to national parks to urban centers, where this stuff is just being grown and it's being widespread exploited. Like, it's everywhere. It's almost too big to contain.
Yeah, but Anthony, I think it's twofold. I think the gentleman who was the former DEA, the former DEA guy,
Eric Maltz?
Urban.
Sorry.
He said it perfectly. Like, the local law enforcement, the state law enforcement, and the federal law enforcement, they all come together with the support of federal funding and state funding to eradicate this stuff. And you start with the big known states, the Maines, the Oklahomas, the Californias, and once they start seeing that this isn't just a pop here and a pop here, people will fall in line pretty quick. Like, I don't think I don't think that's going to continue for a long time. The whack-a-mole game that you can play in a city like LA with local law enforcement is very real. Like we all know that. But when the FBI, the DEA, the litany of other acronyms that he threw out, partner with state law enforcement, and local law enforcement, I think that gets eradicated really quick. Oh, by the way, you have to open up and crack WeChat. I mean, I think that was like a very big, poignant question. Like if people don't.
Yeah. I get that, but I mean, if you crack down WeChat, then they go to Signal. If you crack down Signal, they go to WhatsApp. If you crack down WhatsApp, they go to TikTok. Like,
yeah, but you can't it's hard to transfer funds on Signal or Telegram. On Telegram. Like you can do that on WeChat, and we know WeChat's protected because that's what China uses to track their people.
Here's what I see, plain and simple, is that as far as this moving and making it a priority, like you look at the hemp side, there's actually some real lobbying dollars that are being done. What I learned from Senator Paul on Wednesday is that we don't have enough presence on behalf of the cannabis space.
That's just not true, by the way. I will sit up here and say that
I believe you are, but do you think as an industry there's enough support going on, or it's just they're flying under the radar?
Yeah, I know plenty of people that are within the cannabis space that spend hours, on the Hill talking to folks.
So what is it? What the fuck? Like I'm so frustrated. Like, what is it? Why are they so against this then? And tell you
it's a Schedule 1 narcotic.
I realize it's a Schedule 1 narcotic, but look what we've been trying to push for a long time right now. We want rescheduling. So where I want to go with this is if you see Democrats like Troy Carter making the comments that he's made, like, is that part of is that a party, you think, as far as a resurgence, or is that just a one-off, meaning him giving his thoughts on this issue? I'm not saying they're trying to steal back for the Republicans, but do you think we could see some momentum here if the Democrats could force the hand for Donald Trump to actually make an announcement sooner rather than later? Question for either one of you.
Donald Trump doesn't give a flying fuck about what some House member says on a panel. I can assure you that much. Like that's not going to sway him one way or another. I personally think they're just trying to figure out the right time to release the information. I think we're patiently waiting for that to happen. I feel good about where everything's at. People have gotten out in front of it, way too soon. It was always something that was going to be September, October. People got, they got all excited and the market ran, and then it just kind of like cascaded from there. And look, you're in an echo chamber sometimes on X. I fall into it too.
Well, where I'm going with this is like not just what Troy Carter's saying. I'm saying if the Democrats start to rally behind this issue,
but they can't do anything about rescheduling.
I said it in pre-production. They can't do anything about rescheduling, but they also can't do anything with safer states, even if they wanted to. We control, or not we, but the Republicans control the House and the Senate. They can't push anything through, but they can create a groundswell of support for these bills that will force the Republicans ultimately to act if they want to steal this issue and actually get something done. That is yet to be determined. Then you got to go through Johnson, Thune, a lot of GOP stalwarts have to get on board to move the legislation through. The industry has attacked the executive side and the administrative focus of this very well. The legislative side is yet to be determined.
Yeah, and just going back to the original question, like the legislators can restrict, Chinese individuals that are known ties to the CCP on land and acquisition. That's a really quick way to chop that off. They were talking about RICO at the federal level. If you go read my lawsuit and my lawsuits to come, like those are all state RICO cases. And so like the playbook's out there. The playbook's 100% out there to go get this done. I think the legislature is going to be bipartisan on this issue. They are bipartisan on this issue.
Yeah.
I just know from all my conversations at the federal level and at the state level, everybody is waiting for one thing and one thing only: the okay from President Trump to move cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3. When that happens, the avalanche that is going to come after it is going to be mind-blowing.
Yeah, I agree.
Like truly mind-blowing. The conversations I'm having at the state level with Republicans they're on side. They are 100% on side. They understand it. And
they're on side.
They feel like they have some cover. Once they have some cover from President Trump, it's go time. That's in 2 states. That's in 2 very big states.
When you say go time, can you define what you mean by that?
We're passing adult use cannabis at the state level in our 2 most important states.
Good to know. You think safer will happen soon after that as well?
I don't have any visibility on that. I was on the Hill for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. Safer was not one of them.
Yeah. Bottom line, if Trump does reschedule cannabis and Republicans get to claim cannabis reform as their win, to me, that just puts their stamp in the ground where it's like any path for Democrats to steal this initiative, like it's gone once he makes that announcement. Don't you think, Trent?
Yeah. Yes. I don't think after, me being lied to personally by the Democrats, on December 2nd of 2022, they had plenty of time to do what they intended to do. They do what they do best, which was make a scene, but yet do nothing.
Yeah.
And so when I say, and I should catch myself, like most Democrats are like, and so, I think as we continue to move forward, people that actually realize what their actions are and what they follow through on, there is going to be major major plus points for those individuals. So we know where this polls at. It's like 90+% for medical.
I know.
It's like 65+ for adult use. We as Americans can't even agree on daylight savings time at 65%.
Which we need to get rid of, by the way.
What's that?
I said which we need to get rid of, by the way.
I agree. We need to get rid of it.
Like the 3 of us all concur on that, but there's plenty of people that are like, no.
Listen, I bring up this question about him making this announcement and making it official and stealing this issue. I think this is less about rescheduling if Trump makes a decision and more about stealing an issue from the Democrats, don't you think?
I'm not going to act like I know what the political play is. I mean, it makes sense. I
don't care as long as it gets announced.
His calculus, but it makes total sense. It is something that we know polls extremely well for folks that are under 35, whether you're Democrat, Republican, sit in the middle, and so people react of the younger generation like myself on people that actually do stuff. I mean, I'm sick and tired of having to hear Chuck Schumer say all this stuff. I'm sick and tired of hearing John Thune say all this stuff, but yet nothing is done. Mm-hmm. It's time for, that piece of politics to just go away. I think we need to have real conversations about real topics and get to the middle point. If anything comes out of good from last week, I hope that becomes, part of what's ingrained in people to have conversations, whether they're easy or difficult, but have them done in a respectful way and get to a point where we can have, resolution and right policy so people can proceed with their lives.
Yeah. Well said. Well, remains to be seen. We all feel, I believe that, is there a decision made? Maybe, but at the same time, too, the big question is that from an optics standpoint, what does it make sense timing wise if there's an announcement made? And right now, no one knows, but we sit and wait and hopefully for the best that we get an announcement soon that rescheduling will indeed be announced. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the domino that kicks everything else off.
Yeah.
What's been pent up
I know.
is a tsunami waiting to happen. The dam definitely feels like it's about to break, and that big wall of water that's sitting there is going to be coming fast and fierce. But you just need that one little leak to spring into a bigger thing. And I truly do believe that the administration is there. They're just waiting for the right time to pull the trigger.
Yeah. All right, sir. Good chatting with you, and let's keep in touch. And obviously, when we get this announcement, if there is one, we'll have you on right away. But great job at Washington this week, and keep up the good fight.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Go Tigers, by the way, too. Before you go, man,
go Tribe.
Your Tribe,
Guardians. We're making a run.
You are making a run. Hottest team in baseball. All right, sir. We'll talk to you hopefully soon. Okay.
Yep. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Trent.
Good stuff. Sorry if I missed that at the beginning. If he said he was actually at the hearings, I missed that. I'm busy looking at comments and stuff like that. But all in all, good for him to be in Washington to get some feedback. But yeah, good to know that some of the takeaways there, that the Democrats definitely are concerned about this issue being indeed taken away from them by the Republican Party. But we don't really have to go into this anymore because we sit here, we wait. We have no idea what timeline wise. But I thought you made up some good points at times where it's just like, if there's more chatter with the Democratic Party, you said like there's really nothing they can do regardless because of the control, both the Senate and the House. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, but it's at least encouraging to see some of the conversation that continues to be told about these illegal cartels. And wow, what an eye opener as to how many there are in certain states like Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, they're cleaning. I probably said this 6 to 9 months ago. They're going to clean things up before they reform. Like, it's just the way they work. It's the way the government works. If you have an illicit problem and you have a legal solution that's going to help you extinguish that illicit problem, you're going to enforce, you're going to start to clean it up before you start to legitimize the industry. I mean, just look at the tea leaves. Look at what's going on. There's enforcement actions that have been accelerated on both sides in cannabis and in hemp. There's national conversation that's going on about it. There's media conversation that's going on about it. I mean, there's never been more action than there has been. It just needs to happen. And I think I said it Monday or this Monday or last Friday, the worst thing that could have happened was that WSJ and CNN leak that happened, which prompted the question to Donald Trump to answer on Monday, because that compressed timelines. It caused the market to get ahead of itself. And now everybody's kind of sitting and waiting, hoping that it stays and keeps the momentum that it got very quickly from those remarks, when we always thought it would be a September, October potential announcement. So, I mean, timelines got compressed artificially, and now everybody's kind of on pins and needles, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
If they're going to do it, they're going to announce it, and it's going to get done. I truly believe that absolutely nobody knows when the timing is going to be. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later.
Keystone Record, you guys took it way too soft on Paul. If you got into a room with these politicians, there's a certain approach that you have to take. Do you not think that we want to go all rogue? We want to have these people on again, but there are certain questions that we did ask. But if anything, it showed his cards as to how much he's educated on all this right now. I think he showed a lot of his cards from Senator Rand Paul's conversation the other day. But it's not just, you're making your first impression. And I'm not saying that you got to be soft, but at the same time, too, you got to be strategic on how you approach these conversations with some of these politicians.
We weren't soft. I mean, we asked the questions that needed to be asked. And I mean, we have politicians. We have the leading politicians on the cannabis issue coming on this platform for a reason. It's because they trust us. It's because they respect us. And it's because we treat them the right way. I mean, there's no soft. I mean, if you want, this isn't a gotcha news channel. If we went around those tactics, we would never have anybody on. There's a reason why we have all the CEOs, all the policymakers, and people trust us, because the platform is not a gotcha, aggressive. Like, there was no reason to do anything outside of what we did.
Yeah.
The questions were asked, the answers were given, the record is public. I mean, that's all we could do, and we did our job.
Yeah. Well said. What are some of the topics that we want to get into today? The drug czar, Sarah Carter, she was actually speaking this week, talking about cannabis being bipartisan issue. And I know she was questioned by a number of people, but if she is indeed sworn in and confirmed as director of the ONDCP, I'm curious to see what kind of role she'll have in some of this reform conversation in these next few weeks.
This might ruffle some feathers. I don't know where this is coming from, but people that are very close to the administration that I get information on for rescheduling, from an outsider's perspective, have said that there's 3 key people in the administration that are against rescheduling. And one of them is Sarah Carter.
Seriously?
The second one is Heidi Overton from the America First Policy Institute. And the third one is Stephen Miller. They are not waging war against rescheduling, but I've heard that they are against rescheduling. Maybe it's purely behind closed doors.
Even when she said the benefits of medical for people that extreme
people say things in the public and say different things behind closed doors. But I've heard that Heidi Overton, and Stephen Miller are 3 of the key people within the administration that are against Donald Trump moving on Schedule 3.
Wow. Wonder how Stephen felt with his wife, Katie, interviewing Mike Tyson talking about cannabis in their living room a couple weeks ago. But that actually blows me.
I would hope my source is wrong, but it's someone that I trust very, very much. That told me those 3 key people are against it. There are also, to the converse, champions that are within Donald Trump's very close proximity that want rescheduling to happen. So it's not like his entire administration or there's vast opposition towards it. Just those 3 people were named as being opposed to cannabis rescheduling.
Irish, you referring to one woman, Susie, as in Susie Wiles, chief of staff?
Susie, I've heard, is one of the biggest champions of rescheduling and wants to get rescheduling done. She's very positive on the issue.
Yeah. I believe this is less about rescheduling, and it's about stealing an issue from the Democrats. That's the way I think President Trump is viewing this. I know some people may not agree with me, but at the end of the day, it's all about having the upper hand. And if you've got a bipartisan issue, 80%, 90% of Americans want reform. This is a huge win for him. And, in some ways, cementing his legacy, and especially winning that vote of people 30 and under, which was huge. So that's my take.
Like I said, I don't care what his what his motives are. I just want it to get done. I don't care if he wants to crucify Biden, if he wants to steal the issue. If Donald Trump wants to just start smoking weed in his old age after he's out of the presidency, I don't care what it is. Just get it done. Start the gears in motion for reforming cannabis and undo 50 years of just bullshit that we've been subjected to.
Yeah, agreed.
Since the 70s.
Well, it is encouraging to see Congress hosting hearings yesterday and talking more about everything that we've been discussing on this platform for the past
law and order, TCOs going after the Chinese cartel, going after the Mexican cartels. That directly aligns with the administration. Granted, you can easily read into it as it has motivations with also greater cannabis reform, but at the same time, it plays purely into what they said they were going to do.
Yeah.
Close the borders, clean up the bullshit, extinguish the Mexican and Chinese cartel presence on United States soil. And whether it's fentanyl, cannabis, or firearms, they're going to continue to keep going after them.
Six Buzz on Instagram yesterday talking about Kash Patel, talking about all these illegal terrorist groups and drug cartels, that more are coming from the northern border, Canada, versus the southern border, which if there's some data that supports that, then it's law and order time. And quite honestly, as we shed light more on this topic, whatever seems normal actually isn't normal. And that's an okay thing or a good thing if it comes to the regulated cannabis market and how we're trying to get reform here, but remains to be seen. Hopefully we get something soon. Let's move now to Aurora. Just announced a multi-year investment in its German facility, positioning itself to scale medical cannabis in the EU under strict manufacturing standards. This, to me, nice little move as we see this turnaround story with Aurora, but they're one of the few companies that have huge exporting upside potential in the German and European market. Did you see this?
Yeah, it was great to see. They're one of the few companies that has a domestic cultivation license in Germany. It's good to see them deploying CapEx. that's a sign that the German market is growing. I don't think they'd be deploying capex if demand wasn't there. I would expect to see the companies that have the licenses for domestic cultivation in Germany start to beef up their operations moving forward.
Yeah. Last thing I want to bring up, and this really got your attention, is the tension on Capitol Hill this week with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She called out Republican Byron Donalds over his past marijuana arrest, while he's now backing efforts to block D.C. sentencing reform laws. You forget where he came from. So, politics, man, like it's a dirty game.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of nice to see. This is something that I said it probably was about this time last year, when Byron Donalds was railing against Amendment 3 in the state of Florida that would have decriminalized cannabis and in the state of Florida and brought adult use online. He was against it. Meanwhile, when he was a minor, he was subject to a pretrial diversion program for cannabis distribution, and he was actually benefited from the system because if he would have never went through that pretrial diversion and those charges would have stuck, his life would be very, very different probably. Today, I don't know if he'd be sitting in D.C. and looking to the governor's seat in the state of Florida with the support from Donald Trump, if the system never did him a solid. So the fact that he's pushing for these bills in D.C., he's leading these bills in D.C., he's against decriminalizing cannabis in his home state. I mean, he was a very nice gentleman. Yeah. When we talked to him face to face in D.C., very personable, very respectful. I mean, he was open to conversation where we just walked right up to him. But at the same time, I mean, it's kind of take a look around and really put things into place that are going to benefit people the way that you luckily benefited from the system, because there's a lot of people in this country that didn't get the chance of a pretrial diversion program, and those charges stuck, and their lives were very, very much so fundamentally altered moving forward. Yeah. I don't understand his thought process sometimes, especially as it relates to criminal justice reform, to take it to another harsh extreme when it should probably be going the other way as it relates to cannabis and petty crime.
Well, Crockett's argument was pretty direct. Donald's got a second chance for his marijuana arrest, but now he's working to deny similar opportunities to others, and that is the truth. And
it's a major theme though with politicians and with people in power in this country. I mean, it's rules for thee and not for me. Just look at what Gavin Newsom did during COVID. He was telling people to skip holidays, stay inside, and sit on lockdowns, and then he went straight to the French Laundry and was throwing parties with his friends. So I mean, it's on both sides. It's a symptom of the system. But I mean, I would hope that Byron Donalds comes around, and I'm really hoping that the conversation around adult use cannabis is front and center if and when he runs for the governor's seat next year.
Yeah, we'll see. One thing's for sure, though. I think the general audience just knows a lot more information now. You can't silence these people because people are constantly reading, consuming content every single day. So it's not a question of whether or not we do something. It's whether or not we do something about it. And hopefully something gets done and our voices are heard loud enough, because we're at a day and age now where it's not just about newspaper, radio, and television anymore. People can find any kind of information you can actually think of online right now. And let's hope some of that research just gets our voices louder and louder and louder. Ty Grower, you brought up some points about how the Chinese cartel are even buying out medical marijuana companies. Like, they're buying anything and everything.
I haven't seen that.
Man,
I haven't heard one instance of a Chinese cartel or any sort of criminal organization
buying medical cannabis companies,
buying legal businesses. That's a slippery slope. I've not heard, unless you've heard otherwise, I've not heard anything that
I know what they are buying
that corroborates that statement.
So the town I'm in is like the North American capital of greenhouses, but oh my God, they have taken over half the greenhouses here. It's all legal black market grow. And I got to be careful with what I say.
What's a legal black market grow?
Well, they're stripping out all these greenhouses of produce, and they're growing weed in there. And
legally or on the black market?
Black market. Okay. Like duffel bags of cash that are showing up, and these Italian guys are basically selling their lands, and they're walking away, and it's just like But I do know the RCMP, which is equivalent to the FBI, have done a few raids, but it's wild. And when I talked to Derek Maltz back last month, he's just like, this is all across North America right now, and all goes back to China. That's where this is, taking place. But anyways, I'm going to change the subject because I've got to be careful with what I say. All right, let's now move into, I'm going to bring in Dan for the chart guys. Anthony, I'll bring you back up after this segment, okay?
Sure.
What's going on, my friend? Happy Friday. How are things?
Same to you. Things are good.
Yeah, it was a lot of the same old, I think, from what you said last week. But, for the most part, we are starting to see volume dry up a little bit as we still continue to wait. And this is the momentum that we're starting to see. And I don't say momentum in the right way. But, again, some of the senior names that we covered off last week, High Tide, SNDL, Tilray, VFF, seem to be having or showing better support. Some, Tilray maybe not so much, but the others actually holding up. But let's look at MSOS, because I know some of the stuff that you'd mentioned last week was there was a support level. Was it 404, if I'm understanding correctly? And that gap that needed to be filled or was prevented from being filled. But maybe fill us in on what that meant. And more importantly, what the domino effect was on MSOs the remainder of this week. And again, what we can anticipate going into next.
Yeah. So we had the head and shoulders pattern, which again is just a uptrend changing to a downtrend. So that has confirmed. So I stopped paying attention to that. And now I'm just watching the downtrend guide where we have a lower high, lower low pattern. The key support level, as you mentioned, was 404, because if we break 404, we're then in gap fill where there's a lack of support because price skipped above it on the way up. And the bulls defended that level. That's now the line in the sand, which the bulls are attempting to hold. If we lose, we'll just call it $4 because it's never pinpointed to a penny. If we lose $4, we're looking down at 379 as the next level. But I'm just paying attention to the daily downtrend where the current bounce, we held support. We got a decent little bounce underway, but we're not going to forget that anything under where we last topped out, 523, it's just a daily lower high. So the question that we have into next week is, do we top out and see another leg down, or can bulls continue to defend $4 and build that as a base? If they do, I'll be then on the weekly time frame. We'll call that a weekly high or low if the bulls can come off of it. And then we'll look to tighten up on the weekly time frame, which would be a win for the bulls. That would keep the consolidation overall pretty healthy. As we know, just the backdrop, the broader market has been extremely strong, all-time highs in reaction to the FOMC. There's high risk sectors like quantum and uranium that are just ripping in blue sky breakout. So it's a very risk on environment over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we're not benefiting a whole lot from that in cannabis, but that's part of the reason, in my opinion, that the higher listed names that are on the NASDAQ have been holding up a little bit better, is because there is a bit of correlation that matters. Just an example, SNDL, again, this pullback was very contained, no high volume. And we set a base of support at 233, and now we're just trading sideways. And again, you look at the weekly time frame and the amount of retracement, how much of the move did we give back? No matter where you're measuring from, it's much less than MSOS. So,
well, as you said last week, trading sideways before an announcement is actually not a bad thing. And, some of these senior listing names that you brought up, Dan says, or Braun says, hey, Dan, let's talk VFF. That's another great example as to how it's held up strong, traded, like you said, there's a great chart of trading sideways, right?
Yeah, and it's sideways is just fine. So right now, VFF is testing a little bit of resistance, 279 to 283. We're topping out right there, but sideways is fine. And that's what the higher listed names are doing better. This was a big drop on VFF, no doubt about that. When you go straight up, you oftentimes drop hard, but it set its low on the 4th, on September 4th. Whereas if we compare it to MSOS, it set a low on the 4th, but it then dropped to a lower low. So if VFF had done the same thing, we would have done this, which it obviously didn't do. So if I am, saying where is the strength in the cannabis space, it is SNDL, HITI because of its earnings reaction, strong uptrend, multi-year highs. It's SNDL, HITI, and VFF, and even Cron. I mean, Cron to a certain degree sideways, right? Just trading sideways. We're testing short-term resistance. So,
So what's that say in the event that there is a rescheduling announcement? Like you talk about the U.S. market, and everybody on paper that follows this space knows, like the companies that are on senior exchanges that aren't necessarily in the American market will still benefit. Do you believe that?
Honestly, for me as a trader, just purely trader, because of watching how this consolidation has gone, right now my exposure is MSOS, and I have a cron position from back here that I've just let ride. I actually missed stopping out by 1 penny. But I have those 2 positions. And so my mindset has been, I want to reload some of this consolidation and look to add some position back. And I was going to look to MSOS to just keep it simple, but because of this consolidation has gone, I'm going to be choosing one of these individual names. So again, if we get an announcement, I honestly, that's the thing. I don't know who's going to outperform that. Let's just say the 2-week window after an announcement. And so what I do, admitting to myself, I don't know, is I do both. I'll have a little bit of exposure in both to cover my. But yeah, MSOS will do its halt thing likely, and the dollar volume will probably be more significant in Tilray. Tilray has been building a base at $1, that psychological level. We just keep holding it. But the dollar volume here will likely be, even just, today, a random day, we're trading 20 million right now, maybe something like that. I'm doing very rough math, but yesterday we traded $60 million. And
I know.
So, that would be the equivalent of MSOS trading, 14 million shares or something, which it can do, but just generally speaking, because these names are listed on the NASDAQ, they see more volume. So again, I have no idea but I do know, generally speaking, the lower cap names will have the biggest percentage outperformance if we get that catalyst.
Agreed.
Because they are very thinly traded. There's a lack of liquidity, and it's just, the analogy is everybody's rushing through the door trying to get in at the same time, and there's just not a lot of shares. So, if you really want to have all your bases covered, I stay away from the lower cap names intentionally, but, the tier 3 or whatever you want to call them, having some exposure there, and then having some exposure on the higher listed names. And again, that's just the way that I admit to myself, I don't know. So I'm going to do a little bit of everything. Retail mindset. They like a stock that moves 1 to 10 and find it easier versus a stock going from 10 to 20, right? Yeah, definitely. And then what you would look to see is, again, if we get an announcement, everything shoots up, is you then look for rotation where the money goes from the leaders to the laggards. And so that'll be something we'll be watching for as well, but only if we get go time catalyst, which obviously we don't have. Well, we talk about some of these companies that are on senior listings. Let's look at, somebody brings up GTI, which is arguably the biggest company in the US right now. But in comparison, what's it doing? Is it a little bit more volatile in comparison to the senior names? It's just, honestly, all the MSOs, the major ones, are just doing the same thing as MSOS, just slight variations. Curaleaf had the listing on the TSX, but even then, I can't see much of a difference here. They're just doing the same thing. So again, it's just the daily downtrend guide for GTBIF. We've got our high, lower, low. On this current bounce, anything under 880 will just be another lower high. And so into next week, the question is, do we keep the daily downtrend going with another lower low, or can things shift? And the one thing that's in the back of my mind is, okay, the S&P 500 has been at all-time highs going straight up for 2.5 weeks. What if that shifts? If we get a little bit of fear in the broader market, is that going to impact these high risk, high reward sectors? I don't know. We know they don't benefit on the way up, but they might be hurt on the way down. But broader market's still just fine for the bulls. So not worried about that at the moment. Are you anticipating, based on the 25 basis points drop in the interest rates that Powell announced on Wednesday, that you'll see some of these more microcap industries, like, or I should say, new industries that have a little more risk involved, that you'll see more money fluctuated to small caps? I've been looking for it. The crypto space, people are really bummed that altcoins have not been doing anything this cycle at this point. It's been the Bitcoin show and the stocks related to crypto where all the runs have been. The way I do it, again, I'm zoomed out. So I've been looking for rotation into IWM, the Russell, which is low cap, high risk, high reward. And I look at IWM divided by QQQ. And if this chart's going up, you're seeing rotation out of the NASDAQ into the Russell. And it's really struggling right now at this resistance. So I've been watching for it, but it hasn't been a clear go signal. There was a shift. And I'm looking for continuation of the shift, but it just hasn't happened. So I'm not seeing a glaring signal yet. I am positioned for it in my, IRA is where I do my swing stuff, but still, this was a double top by 0.0001 and was almost just missed. So we'll see.
Dan, where do you find, and I think a lot of people you probably have an idea, but when you're looking and staying on top of some of these companies and the opportunities that they present, what's the first step that you're looking at to find some of these good stocks? Because there's a lot out there.
I rely on other people so much. That's the beauty of having a community where, these uranium stocks, OKLO, this stock has gone, again, just thousands of percent. September 2024, we're trading at $5. It's at $127. We're up 2,500% in, 12, 13 months. I didn't know anything about the uranium sector, but I trade alongside someone who followed it where it was his bread and butter. And so I just listened to him. And then, of course, I use my skill set looking at the chart and my trading, but it's other people's expertise pointing at different things and relying on that.
I got introduced 2 weeks ago to a mining company. Full disclosure, I'm a shareholder of it, but it's a company called BGL. It was way up $130. Anyways, there's just a lot of stories. I've been doing some due diligence based on some of the press releases, but they just had made a major acquisition this week, and it's definitely grabbed my attention. But you're right, it's all about community and the people you talk to, but you obviously have to do your due diligence. But I guess that's just investing 101. Make sure that the sources that you have and the ideas that you have are legit, and do your own due diligence, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's someone pointing to things, and then I use my skill set that I've been working on for 15 years to then do my own thing. But they're pointing my eyes where to go. And back a decade ago when we started the chart, guys, I had never traded commodities, and I had people introducing me to go. That's how I got interested in crypto in 2017, and it changed my life because other people were like, "Hey, Dan, maybe we should have a crypto channel. Check out Bitcoin." And I look at the chart and I say, "Oh, blue sky breakout. I know that's when things get exciting. Okay, let's start following Bitcoin and crypto." And it literally was other people pointing to things that changed my life.
Yeah. That is one thing that I learned more than anything in the last little bit, especially this year. I was so fixated for a long time in the cannabis space, but there's so many things that are moving around. And I think, not investment advice, but if there's any suggestion I've learned through all this, it's just there's a time and place for everything. And yes, there's still some upside potential if you get reform in cannabis, but it's got to make sense timing wise, because if you stick around, we've seen this and then we're starting to see it. We're waiting for an announcement. The volume is starting to dry up a little bit, and we're seeing these new lower lows slowly but surely start to happen on some of these smaller exchange companies that are listed on the OTCs. But we all know if there is, an announcement, and this is how this industry moves, they'll pop crazy. But I guess that's what gets people coming back, wanting to know timelines on a lot of things, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's opportunity cost, but everybody's different. Some people can't pay attention a lot to the market, so they just buy the thing and wait. There's nothing wrong with that. Other people pay attention more and they're shuffling around. And yeah, it's just what suits you best as an individual.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you run. Always good checking in with you, and keep your eye obviously on these senior exchanges listing companies and what you've outlined again. Again, it was the same thing that you said 7 days ago, but we continue to see that same trend. So real quick, any workshops coming up, or if people want to get a hold of you or find out more information, where do they log on to?
Checkguys.com. And we do have a 2-week free trial buried in there. So if you go to the membership stuff, there's a button for it. But yeah, just check out the chat room and stuff for free.
All right, sir. Good seeing you. Okay. Have a good weekend.
All right. See you.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Bring in AV back here on a Friday, and that wraps things up. Wow. We're an hour in. That went fast. But yeah, it's funny how he continues to bring up the companies on the senior exchanges are doing well and holding their ground and trading sideways. And right now, trading sideways is not necessarily a bad thing. But
it's liquidity. Watch Tilray when this shit happens. Tilray's gonna. I'll keep saying it, and I'll be proven right when it happens. Tilray will fly.
I think you're right.
And it's not because I like the business. It's not because I like Irwin. It's a function of liquidity and being on a senior exchange.
Yeah.
And everybody that knows cannabis somehow in the periphery knows Tilray.
Yeah. Next week, we got some, we're trying to get Congressman Troy Carter on based on what he expressed last week. So we have been in touch with his team. They've gotten back to us. We're trying to lay down a day and time. So we'll keep you posted on when that's going to take place. So that'll be a great interview. Rob Seacrest from Ploris. He's making his return to Trade to Black, and we'll have a video out with him. Brand new. He's got some stuff that wants to talk about just regards to the industry. He'll be on next week. And then Organigram is going to be on next week. We got Margaret Brody from Rubicon Organics. She's going to be hopping on Monday. So we'll get a catch up with her and see how things are going within the Canadian market and how things are developing there. And if she's had any conversations with any of the new Liberal Party on that excise tax. So she'll be logging on Monday. So good little week coming up with a lot of guests. And really, as well, we had a great conversation yesterday with the Chief Operating Officer, Trip McDermott from Verano Holdings. They did $202 million in their last quarter, which they reported back in August. And we found out the reasons why. So that's going to come out on our platform on Monday morning. And for people out there that are upset about this membership, look, I just want to make sure everything's clear. Everything we're producing already is still going to be for free. We're just adding some new elements to this that's going to be behind a membership wall. It's going to be some good, interesting stuff, but it's not like I'm taking anything away from anybody here. We're just adding some more stuff to it. And I think you'll find it interesting. But some key conversations, we're going to be sitting down with analysts, and that's kind of the stuff that we want to do. So, and I think you've got something behind that membership wall coming up next week that you want to discuss. Maybe you want to quickly top line that.
Yeah, it's going to be an office hour segment that goes on Tuesday. Next week, I'll be covering GTI and the implications of Minnesota going adult use, their $50 million buyback program, as well as what was the other press release they had this week? There were 3 press releases that came out. I'll be going over through all of that on GTI and the broader implications on the business.
Yeah.
And then anybody that has any questions that wants them answered can fire away.
Yeah. Rose, I hear you. We're all broke until rescheduling. I can relate. Tiger, it's a membership. Just go to the navigation bar at the top and you'll see home, videos. What else? I'm trying to think of where it is on the YouTube channel. You'll see membership along there. So just scroll to that and you'll sign up for TDR Plus. But you'll see some of the new stuff that we're going to be actually posting there. But yeah, you'll see home videos, shorts, live, podcast, playlist, posts, membership. Click on membership and you'll see some more. But we're going to start populating that side of the channel with a lot more content these next couple of weeks, including weekly appearances with Seth Yakutin. So all is good. In the meantime, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you back here Monday with Margaret Brody from Rubicon Organics. Enjoy your weekend. And thanks for checking in this week to the Trade to Black podcast, presented by Dutchie. On behalf of Anthony and I, again, have a great weekend. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
So what'd you think of all that information? Some interesting stuff that we just learned once again here at the TDR Trade to Black podcast. Let's keep the conversation going. So leave your comments below. We'd love to get your feedback. As usual, if you have time, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications. And stay connected with us here at the Trade to Black podcast. Thanks for watching, everyone.